Good morning, Year 7s. Right, lovelies, it's the last week of school. How exciting! You've made it all of this way. We've done so many awesome online lessons together, but we only have this last week to go. So I thought to myself, what better way to do the last week of school than to keep doing equations, everyone's favorite unit, right? Yeah, cool. So basically, my lovelies, you did really good last week. I was really super happy with it, and I'm now convinced that all of you, like literally all of you, have mastered it. So I'm really super happy with that. Like all the steps were perfect. All of everything was perfect. I loved that last homework. The coloring in one, like my word, it was no problem at all. I think I gave almost every single person an A. So wonderful work, Super Sevens. You got your head around it. So this is what we're gonna do now. A little bit harder. Final week. Final hardest topic of equations, and let's do it. This week we're gonna do equations that have both fractions and brackets in them. So that's gonna be tricky, but stay with me. Do your best to follow along. I think you'll absolutely ace it. We're gonna crush it like always, and I totally believe in you. If you find that you're one of the ones who's struggling a little bit with this, I would suggest actually writing out these questions that I'm doing with you now. Like if you write them out with your own hand, you might understand them even better. But I don't think it's too tricky anyway. So let's see how we get on. Cool. First question. What we've got here is a 3 and then a bracket and a 2x take away 1. And that equals 9. So the big difference between this week and last week is these last week ones, they didn't have any brackets in them. That's the only difference really. And these ones have. So what are we going to do with the bracket? Well, I think you remember. It was ages ago. It was like toward the start of the year when we did this kind of algebra with you guys. But do you remember what to do with a bracket? Do you remember kind of what that thing is that gets rid of the bracket? Does anybody kind of, not to give it away too much, anyone kind of remember how the brackets work? That's right, lovelies, you've got to times them out. So, whenever you get a number in front of a bracket, what you're going to do is you're going to times both of the things that's inside the bracket by the number outside the bracket. Just because there's an equal sign, just because there's an equation, it doesn't actually change that. It works in the same way. So let's do it, buddies. Let's see what happens. So if you check this bad boy out, what we have is 3 bracket 2x take 1. So step 1, you'll go 3 times 2x. Well, what's 3 times 2x? 6x. Oops, drat. 6x. You're exactly right. Next step, 3 times negative 1. Well, that's going to make negative 3. Now, the rest of it, this equals 9 bit over here to the right, we're just going to copy that out. Equals 9. Oops. Equals 9. So what we've got here is we've just, in one step, killed off the bracket. And guess what, guys? That's it. Now that you've done that, it's exactly the same as the questions that we did last week. So they really are only one extra step, even though they look really tricky. So for full steps, because you guys have become really good at that as well, showing full steps, here's what you're going to do. Step 1 is 6x take 3 equals 9. Now, we want to keep the 6x safe, so we could put a square around it. I think I'm not going to this time, because I think you guys are quite good now. So beside the minus 3, we'll do plus 3, plus 3. So what's left on the left? Well, just the 6x now, actually. So we've just got the 6x. And what's left on the right? Well, it's 9 plus 3, so that's going to be 12. And that's what we've got. 6x equals 12. What do you do to both sides now? Well, it's 6 times x. Opposite of times is divide. So over 6, over 6. Awesome sound effect. And here's what we've got. X equals 12 over 6. 12 divided by 6, which is 2. Job done, buddies. Absolutely flying. No trouble at all. Just because there was a bracket, it didn't fool you. So nice one, buddies. Cool. This one's almost the same, my lovelies. So have a little go at that if you like. See if you can figure this one out, number 2. And if you'd like to, push pause and see if you can get ahead of me. So pause if you like. And otherwise, stick with me. Here we go. Take the 5, times it by both things in the bracket. So what you're going to do first of all then is 5 times 2, because that's the first little archy thing there. 5 times 2, well, that's 10, of course. And the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to go 5 times the 3x. Well, 5 times 3 is 15, so it's going to be plus, copy the plus in the middle, so plus, and 5 times 3, 15, and copy that x on out, 15x. Now, the equals 5 bit, this bit here to the right, we haven't done anything with it, so we should just copy it because we haven't done anything to it. It's still there because we haven't messed with it yet. So that's what we've got. Now, a little bit harder this time. What we've got to do is we've got to get the x's by themselves. This time it's in a different position, so don't let that fool you. The 15x is in kind of the second position here. So what we'll do then is we're going to need to get rid of that 10. So I'm going to protect the 15x, who the plus who the plus does belong to. Come on now. Here, there we go. So keep him all safe. And there's a 10 there. How do you get rid of a 10? Well, you take it off both sides. Take 10, take 10. You're going to be left with 15x on this side. Switch colors again. 15x. And on this side, 15 take 10. Well, that's 5. Cool beans. What do you do next? Well, it's the division step now, buddies. So over 15, over 15, over 15, over 15. Because you get to go with the super sound effect. And that leaves you with x on this side and 5 over 15. Well, my lovelies, 5 over 15 doesn't actually go, but 5 goes into both of those numbers. How many 5s go into 5? Well, you're going to get 1 5 into 5, and you're going to get 3 5s into that, which means our final answer, 1/3, like an absolute boss. That's a hard one. I don't think anything on the homework is as hard as that, so I've given you a I've given you a tricky one there, buddies, so hopefully that one's okay for you. Cool. Question C. Now, this one's hard. I would say this is as hard as year 7, and actually nearly as hard even as year 8 goes, this question C, because we have two things. There's a bracket and a 2 touching it, but there's also this whole big fraction thing. It's over 3. Now, I know that looks proper scary. That's like the hardest thing, but we're going to be good at this because we're really good at BIDMAS, and that's kind of the trick to solving these. So if you look at it, the first thing that we'd normally do is times out this bracket. So we'd go 2 and we times it by the x and we times it by the 1. But then after you've done that, you divide by 3. So essentially, since dividing by 3 is the last thing that you can do, the last thing that you would do, what we're going to do this time is we're going to times by 3 on both sides first. So it's kind of like the reverse of this step here where you do division. You're going to times by 3 first because you still get to make that awesome swishy sound. So it goes whoosh, whoosh, and that gets rid of the times as times by 3. So what are you left with on the left side then? Well, what you're going to be left with is this. You're still going to have the 2, the bracket, the x plus 1, and on this side you've got 2 times 3, which is 6. So can you see that what we've done is we've got rid of the fraction, but we've kept the rest of the question the same. So we weren't happy with the fraction, so we got rid of it. So that's how that works. I know that's probably the trickiest, so I hope that you got that. That's the trickiest. Step 1 when you get a fraction is to get rid of the fraction, okay? So if you see that it's all over 3, step 1 is to times by 3. If it was all over 5, you'd times by 5. If it was all over 10, you'd times both sides by 10, because we always want to do that swishy sound. We want to go whoosh, whoosh, and get rid of the bottom of that fraction. Because now look, this question here now is the same sort that we're used to. So now we can solve it. Times the bracket out, buddies. 2 times x, my lovelies, and 2 times 1. 2 times x makes, well, 2x. 2 times 1, well, that makes 2. Now it's a plus, so we copy the plus. Here's what we've got. That side is still 6. And now, it's exactly the same as those questions that you're super familiar with. So the next step, buddies, take away 2 off both sides. Take 2, take 2. Here we go. I keep grabbing the wrong pen. I'm not very good at this today, unfortunately. Here we go. Take 2, take 2. And what are you left with on this side? Well, just the 2x, because the plus 2 and the take 2 cancel each other out. And on this side, 6 takes 2. Well, that's 4. And you're left with 2x equals 4. Lots of you ready to go just to the final answer. The answer is 2, because 2 lots of what makes 4? Well, 2 lots of 2 makes 4, so the answer is 2. But if you want to show the full fraction step, over 2, whoosh, whoosh, leaving you just with x equals, and 4 over 2, well, that's 2, like a ledge. Cool. That, my buddies, is really hard. I'm not even going to pretend that it's not really hard. But if you can do this grade C or part C kind of question here, that's certainly as hard as year 7 goes. And as I say, that's pretty much as hard as year 8 goes as well. I know that we're online, but I've not really given you an easy time of it. I know that. I'm giving you really hard questions, but I think it's good for you, my buddies. And I think that lots of you should be on board with this. But if you're a bit stuck, that's cool. Just, go through, ask questions on the comments in the Show My Homework, and I'll definitely be helping you. So hopefully that's okay. Cool. D and E are funny, okay? These questions are not really important, if I'm going to be honest with you, but I've given you a worksheet which makes the big mistake of having this division symbol. Pretty much after year 7, we'll never use the division symbol again, because it's not a super useful thing. If we want to divide, we use these fraction lines, okay? So these divisions are not super important. Now, unfortunately, your worksheet's got a couple with the division symbol in, so I best actually show you how to deal with them, even though you won't encounter it very often in real life. So here we go. This question is 5x divided by 2 equals 10. I'm just going to tell you what to do. Whenever you get this division symbol, it's the first thing that needs to go. Okay, so rather than divide by 2, you've got to know what the opposite is. What's the inverse operation? Opposite of divide 2, buddies. What would you have to do? Well, if you said times 2, you're absolutely right. But to keep it fair, times 2 to both sides. Balance method, buddies. So here's what you got. On the left, you got your 5x still. And on the right, well, because you get to do this lovely swishy thing, right? We got rid of it. So gone and gone. Now, what are you left with on the right-hand side then, lovelies? Well, on the right, it's just 10 times 2, which is 20. And then it's the same. Keep going on your regular steps. Divide by 5, divide by 5, and you're just left with x equals, and 20 over 5, 20 divide 5 is 4. Final answer. Really good. Now, those of you who proper want a challenge, and I think there's only one of these on your homework, I would say that these are certainly end of year 8 level now, part E, so you have to be really up for it. If you want a proper challenge, we'll do E together here. But let's have a little look. It's 3 bracket, 2x take 1, divided by 0.5, and that equals 2. Now, remember what I said about that last question? That I said we don't like this division sign, that we're not really game for it, we don't like it. Mathematicians don't even use it, but we don't like it, certainly not. I'd like to get rid of that first. What is going to be the opposite then, my buddies, of divided by 0.5? What do you think? The opposite of divided by 0.5. Well, if you said you could times by 0.5, you're absolutely right. So what we'll do is we'll times both sides by 0.5 to begin with, because that gets rid of these guys. And you're just left with the what am I trying to say? Oh, the bracket here left, and that's going to be this. 3 bracket, 2x take away 1. These guys are gone. 2 times 0.5 might be a hard sum for you, but you can check it in the calculator. 2 times 0.5, that's like 0.5 times 2. That's like 0.5 of 2, or half of 2, which is 1. So that's what you end up with. And now it's like that first question again. So step 1, buddies, times it out. You're going to be left with then, buddies, 6x, because 3 times 2x is 6x. And then 3 times minus 1 is minus 3. And that's going to equal, I don't know, what am I writing 4 for? Oh dear. Equals 1, like an absolute boss. Next step, buddies, what you're going to do? Plus 3 to both sides. Plus 3, because your legend's at that now. And you're going to be left with 6x equals 4. Maybe now spotting that it's actually a bit of a hard one, because 6 doesn't go into 4, because 6 is bigger than 4. So here's what we have to do. We're going to have to divide both sides by 6 to get the x out on its own. So divide by 6, and you get to go get rid of them. And here's what you've got. On the left side, just x. On the right side, 4 over 6. So I'm actually going to show a middle step. 4 over 6. Think to yourself, does 4 over 6 simplify as a fraction? Any number go into both 4 and 6? Can you think of one? Oh yeah, that's right. 2 goes into both 4 and 6. How many 2's go into 4? Well, 2. How many 2's go into 6? Well, 3. The answer to this question, buddies, 2/3. There's none as hard as that on your test, or not your test, sorry. There's none as hard as that on your worksheet, and that's proper Year 8 level. So if you've stayed with me all the way through equations, brand new unit, hard unit in Year 7, well, pretty much, lovelies, I'll let you in on a bit of a secret. I've kind of nearly finished Year 8 with you as well. So you've done so well, buddies. I'm so pleased. So I hope that you've got your head around them, and hopefully that's cool. Cool. Here's what I'm going to get you to do. Boom. This is a maze that you're going to do today. It won't be too tricky, but I do have to get you to show steps. Here's how it works. Can you see the first question here? And it says, start with 2 bracket x plus 2 equals 15. Here's what you're going to do, buddies. Just on the same sheet, or in your books if you like to be really neat. Here's what you're going to do. Step 1, let's start working out the answer, okay? So 2 brackets x plus 2, well, that's going to be 2x when you times it out. And then the next bit, because you're going to go like that, and then 2 times 2 makes 4. So it's 2x plus 4 is what that turns into. This side then still equals 15. Cool. Next step. Take away 4 off both sides. Take 4. And this is what you're going to be left with is 2x on this side, and on this side it's going to be 11. Cool. Next step. Divide both sides by 2. Over 2. You're going to be left with x equals, and it's 11 over 2. Well, what's 11 divided by 2? Half of 11. I'm going to go decimals this time, and I'm going to go 5.5. So the answer to this question, my buddies, is x equals 5.5. Here is how the maze works. What you're going to want to do is we're going to either go down to this question here, the 2x equals 18, or right to this question here with the 4 in front. Now, what you're aiming to do is to get to a question that makes the same answer. So I'm looking for a question whose answer is also 5.5. Cool beans, guys? So straight away, those of you who like skipping steps at the start should be in your element. 2x equals 18, you might be able to instantly say to yourself, that means x equals 9, which means it's certainly not this one. It means that it's not this, because 9 is not 5.5. So it's not going to be that way. So we're going to have to go this way. So let's times this bad boy out and see what we get. So again, we got to show steps. So here's some workings out for us. That will become 4x, because 4 times x for 4x. And then 4 times 0.5, so half of 4 was plus 2. And that's going to equal 24. Cool. Next up, minus 2 minus 2. So you're going to be left with 4x equals 22. And then you'll say to yourself, okay, well, we got to divide by 4 now. Over 4. And that'll leave us with x equals 22 over 4. And because I want a decimal, I'm even happy for you to use your calculator. I mean, you don't need a calculator, to be honest, because you could do that as a mixed number. But let's calculate it just to see. 22 divided by 4. My word, lovelies, it is 5.5. That's what we were after. 5.5. That means this is x equals 5.5. And that's the next. Do I wonder if I have a highlighter? Ooh, I don't. But that means that is the next one in our sequence. So what do you do next, buddies? Well, you have to decide. Are you going to go down? Are you going to go down here next? Or are you going to go here next? Well, you can use your mental maths if you like to determine which way you think you should go, and then do it and show steps all of the way, okay? So say you decided that you had to go right, for instance. You could be like, okay, well, 4 plus 7, well, that's going to be like, what's that going to be? It's going to be 11. 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. So actually, yes, not that way either. This is the right way to go. But then you'd have to show the steps, okay? You'd have to do 2x minus 7 equals 4, and you'd have to go and get that all answered, okay? To determine that that's the way you go. You should end up making a nice path that goes from one side to the other, maybe taking a bit of a zigzag until you get to the finish. It's not too many questions, but you have to do some mental maths, and you have to do some workings out. Cool beans, guys? And that's it. So hopefully that's okay. Hopefully you get it. Very, very best of luck. I believe in you, Super 7. Super hard, amazing, nearly Year 8 work, or definitely Year 8 work that you're doing. So keep up that fantastic work. So that's it for me, my lovelies. Bye, buddies!